Hello everyone, it's Pam here with Tattered Paper and Lace, and welcome back to my channel. I thank you for coming along. If you have joined me before, thank you for joining me and coming back to take a look at some of the things that I'm doing. And if you've just found me, welcome, and I hope you enjoy what you see. We are going to be starting a new journal. I am going to be doing a journal very similar to this that is inspired by Donna at Past and Pages. She does a series of abandoned journals, and she did a tutorial on how she makes them. So I followed that, and this is my creation from her tutorial. And I thought I'd make another one. This one I'm keeping because there's some things in here that's pertinent to my family. So I thought, well, I'll just keep this one and I have it as a reference. And I can tuck things in it that I find along the way that is referencing the same time frame. So I wanted to make another one to sell in my Etsy shop. So I am going to make another one, and I thought I would take you with me. And if you are interested in following along and possibly making your own, they're not hard. You don't need a digital kit. You can just use any papers that you have, any ephemera that you might have. You can make it grungy or not grungy. Mine will be grungy, just like this one is grungy. It has old photos, real old photos. It has newspaper clippings. It has, just all kinds of, this is something that I just tucked in there. This has got some old wallpaper here. Which I'm not going to have any old wallpaper, didn't have any old wallpaper that matched, but just some bits and pieces, some things I found on a walk, just laying on the street. And I thought, okay, well, let me use that. This broken CD is one of those things. Laces and just, collage pieces, and it's just the way I look at this is a journal. And Donna calls them, and this is from something from my grandmother. So I've just tucked some other pieces in here that I haven't actually attached yet. But this is here's a pencil holder. I'll probably make another one of those. But this is just a messy, vintage, abandoned journal. Abandoned because it's just got things tucked in it. It was, I want to imagine that it was found in a house that had been abandoned, and someone had lived there, made up a journal so they could tuck things in that they were interested in or wanted to go check on at another time, photos that they came across, receipts that they came across, things that they might need to keep, like receipts and bills and things like that, all went into this journal. So that's what this is. It's a fabric covered, lace and vintage paper embellished. So what we're going to do today is make the cover. This cover was made out of truly vintage, came from my family, truly vintage pillow ticking cloth. This kind of a canvasy-like material, and it has several layers in here, which we're going to go over. It also has been distressed, artificially distressed, stitched, and we're gonna talk about how you make that and how you start that today in today's video. But it is a soft cover journal. Feels really good. Holds a lot of stuff. You can just keep adding to it, and it kind of rolls over, and I love it. It feels great. I love looking through it and seeing what's in here. And some things are actually from my family. Some photos are actually from my family. So that is what we're going to do today. So you will need a fabric that you would want to be the outside of your cover. And then you need a fabric that you would want to be the inside of your cover, but keep in mind that it won't show very much because it will be the fabric that is behind these little rips. Then you'll want some cheesecloth, and then you'll want a fabric, probably a plain fabric, that is easy to tear, that you can make these little rips in it so that it looks old and vintagey. So that's 4 layers. You need a outside fabric that will show. You need a fabric that will not show, except for little snippets through. So you can see this one has what I call little puppy dog feet. Actually, I have a sample of that fabric inside this journal as well. Let's see if I can find it again. I can't. Yes, here. So that's the fabric I used as the underlayment of this plain muslin fabric. Okay, so pick out something that will show some sort of color. I'm using a solid color one this time that is that sort of tan color. And then you'll need some cheesecloth. You can either do a whole sheet of cheesecloth, or you can do just a little bits and pieces. On this one, I didn't use a whole piece of cheesecloth because I didn't have any that was dyed except for just a little bit. So I just put it around the edges as I was sewing. It does require some sewing on this. So if you don't have a sewing machine, you can also hand stitch it like you would a quilt. And so let's look and see what I have chosen. So I'm going to do ticking again. And I have chosen, then you'll need some batting, some flat blanket batting, I would call it. So I'm going to use another piece of ticking. This is not vintage. It is new. I got it at Walmart. And I am going to use the backside because I like this more faded look. And so it's really like the front side is just faded, more faded. So I'm going to use the backside as my outside of this journal. So that is our first layer. So I'll need to turn that over like that. And whatever size. This size is, I believe it's a 12-inch, right at 12 inches, 12 and a quarter. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's about 12 and a quarter. Doesn't have to be perfect. Edges don't have to be perfect. As you can tell, it will be just, grungy, and used and tattered and so forth. So this is around 12 inches. Mine is actually 12 and a quarter. And it is, so this will be folded in half, would be about 6 inches. And then this is about 9 inches tall. So, and that's the same size of the other one I have here. So you need this layer. Lay it down with your front side facing down. Then you need your, what I call blanket batting. And that is just a flat, almost like felt. You probably could use felt. This happens to be actual batting, but I think you could use felt as well, just something that gives it a little padding. And you want to cut this piece small enough smaller than your main cover, outside cover part, so that I don't want too much of that to show because I coffee dyed everything. So this has been coffee dyed. I did not coffee dye this because I don't want to wet that. It would absorb huge amounts of water and it doesn't really need to be coffee dyed, but I don't want the edges of that to show very much. So that would go next. Then I would have my inside layer, what I would want to be the inside part that won't show except for under the splits and the tears in the actual inside cover. So back again to remind you, this piece is the pieces underneath here where you see it through the splits and tears in the outer piece. That's to give you something to look at when it's grunged up. So that would go next, and it's the same size as my cover piece. Then the next thing you want is cheesecloth, which mine has also been coffee dyed. It was white, and now it's just a little creamy color, which is plenty enough for me. You can do it very grungy dark if you want to. This is cheesecloth right here. Nope, that's just threads somewhere. I have some bits of cheesecloth. I didn't use a whole sheet. I'm going to use a whole sheet this time. I didn't have. Here we go. So this cheesecloth is a lot darker than this one. But that's okay. Let me show you this piece. So this piece I used is a good bit darker. It doesn't really matter. Whatever suits your fancy on that. So these rips and tears is what you're going to see underneath. Is this fabric is what you're going to see under those rips and tears. Okay, then the cheesecloth needs to be bigger than your cover, because we want the cheesecloth to hang out. And if you don't have a lot or don't want to use a lot, you can just take little bits and put it along the edge. Doesn't have to be another layer. Like I said, on this journal, it was not another layer. It was just bits and pieces that I stuck in as I was stitching around this. So I've got this about a quarter inch to a half inch bigger. It stretches, so you can stretch it out and make it be as big as you need for it to be. But be sure you cut it so that those edges will show all the way around. And if it's a little bit too big when you get done, you can trim off a little bit. And then we're going to have our piece that's on the inside. And this is a lightweight muslin type fabric. You cut that also the size of your journal, the size of your front cover piece, and you just lay it next. So now you have 4 layers. You have 4 layers, one on top of the other, and that is what you have. Now, I'm not going to be able to sew this and show you how to do that because I can't pause my videos and then come back. But I'm going to tell you how to do it. It's very easy. If you know anything about sewing, you certainly can do it, and you probably could do it if you didn't. But let's go back through and see what we have. We have our outside fabric of our cover, which mine is this red ticking. Then we have a blanket batting or felt here. Then we have, and it's smaller than your cover, by a little bit, 1/4 of an inch or so. Then we have the inside cover that is only going to be seen through the splits and tears in your final inside cover. Then we have a layer of cheesecloth, and then we have your inside cover. So this is what this is the layers mine is going to be. Now, I wanted to try, like I said, I didn't use the cheesecloth layer, just put little bits of cheesecloth as I was sewing around. I wanted to try using a whole piece of cheesecloth underneath, because when you make your tears in this inside cover, when you do that, and if you tear through the cheesecloth as well, then you'll see little cheesecloth bits through there, and I think I will like that little extra bit of grunginess in there, but it is not necessary. So that you could leave that off altogether. If you don't have cheesecloth, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. You can fray the edges, and what I do when I size my piece is I tear, don't cut. I just tear a little snip, and then I rip the piece of cloth so that it has frayed edges. And then sometimes, like this one has some really good frayed edges. Sometimes I even go through and, fringe it up some more, because I want it to look tattered, well-worn, well-used piece. So I want it to be tattered and, with bits and pieces hanging off and threads hanging off and tattered and torn. But the outside cover is not going to be torn. It's just going to be sewn through. Now, what you will do, and you can either do it from this side or you can do it from this side. It doesn't matter. But when you're sewing it, I think I did it from the outside, the inside out. So when you're sewing this, you will do it in a very random pattern. So I put this on after I did the sewing of the cover together. I sewed around the edges all the way around, and I did 2 rows just straight around, wonky stitch, straight stitch, zigzag stitch, does not matter. Any kind of stitch you want to do. Doesn't even have to be neat. Preferred not to be neat, actually. This is something that does not need to be perfect. So if it has to be perfect for you, you might not want to do this. Now, I am a very organized individual, and I won't call myself OCD, but I probably have a little bit of that. And I like for things to be neat, but I love making this because it doesn't have to be neat. So it can be perfectly imperfect, is what I call it. So then after you've sewn around, which is going to stabilize it, keeps it from moving as much, then you can either start again from the outside and just keep going around in a circle and a circle, or a rectangle, or do just squiggly. You see how squiggly and wonky that is. You could see better from if I didn't have the front covered, but you can see it inside here. See, it's just all wonky. I even just stopped here because I was done. So let me show you the back again. So it's just all very wonky. Just stitch around and just keep going around and around and around and around until you get it covered as much as you want it to be. And it doesn't have to be completely covered. You can do it in, straight stitches this way and then straight stitches this way if that's what you want to do. It is totally up to you. I like the wonky stitching. I think that just gives it a little more interest. So that is how you do this. So it's a free flow, freestyle on your sewing machine. I just put it under there, and aside from just making sure your edges are down, which I would sew around at least once, and then you just start in the middle and just circle around, do wonky, do whatever, you can do anything, and make it as put as much of that stitching in as you'd like. And that's how you put this together. So that is the first installment of this abandoned journal. I don't know if I'll call this one abandoned. Called this other one abandoned, but you can see it right there. But I don't know if I'm going to call this one that. I'm not sure yet. It kind of will depend on what I choose to go on the front, which we will do later. That's probably going to be the last thing we do. So I'm making the journal first, this cover first. And the reason is, when I'm making a journal, I like to have the cover where I can put the signatures in the cover when I've put it aside for the day. And that's the way I can be assured that the pages are together, and they don't get scattered and they don't get damaged. And so I like to have my journal made. So when this is laying over like this, I will just be able to, after I get it sewn together, I will just be able to lay my signatures inside as I work on them. This is only going to have one signature, which is another plus for this kind of journal, because look at how thick this is, and it is just one signature. But I probably have 20 pages in here, aside from extra envelopes and things that I have put in. I probably have just 20 single pages in here. And then with all the extra added, and I love it. I just love the feel of it. It's just nice and squishy, and it makes little squishy noises, and I just love it. So I wanted to make another, and hopefully someone will enjoy it and think they will enjoy it enough to purchase it from my Etsy shop. So again, this is what we're going to do first. So if you're following along, I'm going to try to do at least a video a week. I might do 2 videos a week. It kind of depends on what I have going on. It is, it is approaching summer, and we do like to go places. So I don't know if it will be weekly, but that will be my goal, is to have a video a week on getting this journal together. So the first video, which is this one, is the cover. So if you get your cover made, then the next time, and I already, to warn you, I already have my signature mostly together as far as the pages go, but we'll go over that so you can then I'll give you time to pick out your pages to put together. But next time, which will be the next week, we will do the signature, getting the pages for the signature. It won't be the embellishments. It might not even be the envelopes that will be pockets. It will just be the pages that we're going to choose and that you want to choose. So you might get your cover together, and then, and if you see things, raggedy things, old newspaper, old book pages, old stationery pages, and if you want to coffee dye, you might want to start coffee dyeing that too. But every one of these things, every one of these sheets of fabric is coffee dyed, except for this one that is the underlayment of them, so that what you see through the tattered part, that's not been coffee dyed. And the batting has not been coffee dyed. But the cover, outside cover, the cheesecloth, and the inside cover has all been coffee dyed in my instance. That will be up to you. If you have old fabric that already looks aged, I wouldn't worry about doing any more to it. If you don't want it to be aged, you don't have to. If you don't want to make these little tears in the journal, you don't have to. If you don't want to have coffee dye, this is a coffee dyed doily. If you don't want to have raggedy pages, you don't have to. You still can follow along with this journal and make it be what you want it to be. Now, I am going to be making mine junky. Junky and grungy is my thing, I think, because I enjoyed it so much. And I have made some other grungy journals. So that, again, today is what we have done, is our cover for this journal. And don't worry, if your page like this is showing out here, I don't care. That's okay. I want it to be, I want it to be that. I want it to be grungy. So don't worry. It don't have to be perfect. If it's not cut perfect, don't matter. It's all going to be good. So thank you for coming along. I hope you will join me on this journey. I think you'll be surprised how easy it really is to make the signature, even to sew the signature in. When it's only one signature, it's not overwhelming. Again, what we put on the cover, like we have on this cover, I did that the last thing. So that will again be the last thing. So this is the cover. Make your cover. Look for some papers, and we'll look at papers next time for the inside of our signature. So I hope you will follow along, and I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.